Hi, this is Dave Archer. In this video, we will review use of VeloAngle Pro in its standard configuration. Other instructional videos will cover use of optional adapters. In the interest of video clarity, the bike used for demonstration will be supported on a floor stand, away from the wall, but simply leaning it against a wall works just as well. A good place to start the measurement process is to determine which of the two bottom bracket centers will be used. The function of the two centers is identical. The selection will be based on which side of the bike measurements will be taken and the geometry of the feature at the center line of the crankset. I happen to have three bikes that represent a nice cross-section of crankset designs. The bike we will use in the video has an older crankset with a traditional bottom bracket where both crank arms contain hex features, compatible with the smaller center. The second bike has a modern crankset with an integrated crank arm joined to a hollow shaft. Again, either side of the bike can be used, though one will use the large center and the other the smaller one. Finally, the Shimano Holotech design is featureless on the drive side, while the non-drive side contains a lobe feature compatible with either of the two center sizes. Decide which side of the bike you want to work from and insert the appropriate center until the post is approximately flush with the opposite side of VeloAngle's crank housing. Next, we'll set up the saddle adapter assembly in preparation for saddle to bottom bracket measurement. With the end stop against the tip of the saddle, wrap the front strap around the saddle nose. With the front end secured, we need to determine where along the length of the saddle we will take our measurement. There are a number of reference points suggested for this purpose. Here we will use half the saddle length. As the overall length can be read directly from the scale, the half point is easily determined. Due to the wide range of saddle and seat clamp geometries, and to account for the range of positions in which the saddle adapter will be located, two strap lengths are provided for securing the adapter body to the saddle. The longer strap is generally appropriate when the saddle is measured at its widest point or when it's heavily padded. As neither of those conditions exist, we will attach the shorter strap over the flange on the tube side, slide the adapter body to half the saddle length, and then wrap the rear strap with enough tension to maintain adapter position during measurement. Check that the end stop is still contacting the saddle tip and that the scale is aligned with the center line of the saddle. Next, we'll set up the handlebar adapter. It is designed for the current road standard 31.8 mm diameter and the emerging 35.0 mm diameter, primarily for mountain bikes. Non-round bars are measured with the optional saddle to handlebar adapter. As our Foundry S has 31.8 mm diameter bars, we insert the shim into the adapter. The handlebar adapter can be used on either side of the bike by sliding the tubes from one side to the other. Similar to pulling a wine cork, twisting the tube helps get it started. The final preparation prior to measurement is to establish the reference plane from which all angles will be measured. Whether using traditional XY tools with a bubble level, fitting systems with cameras or digitizers, or VeloAngle's digital inclinometer, accurate and repeatable measurements must be based on a common plane of reference. The most widely available means of doing that is to ensure that the 2 points where the bike's inflated tires touch the ground are level. If the bike is sitting on the floor, touch the nibs extending from the opposite housings to the floor. If the surface is uneven, touch off where the wheels contact the floor. If the bike is not level, the low wheel can be shimmed up or the inclinometer's Alt-0 function can be set. Holding VeloAngle steady, press the Alt-0 button. Note the A symbol in the upper right corner of the display indicating that an alternative zero plane is being utilized. It is important that the same zero plane is utilized throughout all measurements. The Digipass inclinometer has an auto-off feature which powers off after 3 minutes. If the unit is powered back on by pressing the on button within that 3 minutes, the alternative zero plane will be retained. If, however, the power is off for greater than 3 minutes, the Alt-0 feature is canceled. If this occurs in the middle of a measurement session, the zero plane needs to be reestablished from the same features initially used. It is for this reason that it's suggested that prior to checking the zero plane, the saddle adapter and center should be installed and the handlebar adapter set up with the appropriate tube orientation and shim arrangement. The sliding housing position must be set according to which measurement is being made. To measure between saddle and bottom bracket, loosen the thumb screws, slide the housing until it is extended completely to the saddle position, and retighten the thumb screws. Allowing VeloAngle to hang freely, insert the saddle adapter tube fully into the housing's round hole. Grasp the crank housing and pull it toward the crankset until the center can be engaged into the bottom bracket feature. Read and record the length and angle measurement. Also be sure that you've noted the distance from the saddle tip the measurement was made. The end stop is parallel to the saddle at the 2 points of contact, so it can be used as a platform to measure saddle tilt. Be sure to support VeloAngle between the contact points so that it sits flush on the surface of the end of the stop scale. We are now ready to document the relationship between the bottom bracket and handlebars. Retract the sliding housing to the handlebar position and retighten. Insert the handlebar adapter tubes roughly half their length. To prevent binding when adjusting its position, grasp or pull the adapter at the tube closest to the V feature. This tube establishes position while the other tube passing through the slotted hole prevents adapter rotation. Thread the strap underneath any cables that are present. Secure the handlebar adapter as close to the stem as possible to ensure that it locates on the clamp diameter. This operation is made easier if VeloAngle's opposite end is supported on a crank arm or the bottom bracket shell. Grasp the crank adapter and pull it into place, locating the center in the bottom bracket feature. Record length and angle. An alternative is to use VeloAngle directly without adapters. This simulated TT setup provides a good illustration. Simply locate one nib on the saddle reference and touch the other on each point of interest. A convenient and accurate way of marking the saddle reference point is to release the strap on the saddle adapter body and slide it off the rear of the saddle, leaving the end stop and scale as shown here. Looking directly down onto the saddle, use the scale to mark the reference used for the BB to saddle measurement. The same technique can be used on saddles with cutouts. Painter's tape is generally a good choice for marking reference points. Applied with some tension, there's negligible sag. Here we see another similar application for recording shifter notch location in a traditional road, gravel, or cross setup. The only adjustment you might make is the amount of drag present when sliding one section against the other. Under these screws are spring washers that maintain preload. The level of resistance to sliding can be adjusted by tightening or loosening the two screws. You can judge the preload applied by each screw by checking the resistance to rotation of the bushing underneath it. Adjust each screw to provide the desired feel. Know that a light-duty thread locker has been applied to prevent unwanted screw loosening, so expect some resistance with the first adjustment. Take care not to damage the slot edges highlighted here. This will cause roughness or resistance to extending or retracting VeloAngle. Small nicks can be removed with a file or utility knife blade. The VeloAngle app will store and graph all measurements and convert between X, Y, and polar coordinates, including the saddle to handlebar relationship if it wasn't measured directly. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below or contact us at VeloAngle.com.